Hi, I'm Kim Wilson,
And I'm Natasha Marchewka.
and this is Speechless.
Speechless. Speechless.
Welcome to our behind the scenes take on real life and VO, where we share our stories, our resources, and our unsolicited opinions.
Mm.
And hello to everyone except Boston's weather, which is tonight 19 below. Hello. So
Okay.
depressing.
Okay.
But
Sorry.
we're going to offset that
Yes.
by having one of the most amazing, successful voice talents on our show today, Maria
Mhm.
Pendolino. I'm sure you all have heard of her. And if you haven't, you have, because you have. You've heard of her.
Mar- Maria is a trained New York actor, currently living in Buffalo, go Bills, and is one of the smartest people I know. And she'll explain her success when Kim asks that at the end of the show. But one of the
Explain your
smartest,
success,
explain your
Maria.
success. One of the smartest people I know, and really that's a big part of her success. If you ever get an opportunity to listen to her speak, well, like right now, put those ears on. You're going to want to rewind the whole 9 yards. So get a load of this episode. Hey, we're so excited to have the very smart,
And
extremely
famous.
savvy, quite famous voice actress extraordinaire Maria Pendolino here with us today. But before we do anything else, Maria, cheers. What did you bring to cheers with?
I brought my favorite concoction, which I call it my spritzy. I guess I would
Oh,
spell that SPRITZIE exclamation point.
I like the
But
IE.
there is we have a microclimate here in Western New York that is up by the Niagara Escarpment,
Mhm.
where ye old glaciers like came through and made Niagara Falls and all of that great stuff. And they have a microclimate up there that's actually good for growing grapes, and
Mhm.
specifically the white varietals and sweet grape varietals.
Mhm.
So the
Ice
Niagara
wine.
Escarpment
Mhm.
Winery puts out lots of different ones. I really like their blackberry rosé, and they also have a loganberry rosé, loganberry being
Ooh.
a Western New York favorite beverage. So I mix that with a like blackberry seltzer, and I get my spritzy. So it's just enough to take the afternoon edge
Edge
off.
off.
Yeah,
Cheers.
cheers.
What did you
I
bring, Kim?
I think we're both shipping champagne.
I think Kim, cheers. Which side do we cheers? Cheers.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
Are you actually talking
No,
about Canada, Niagara on the Lake, Maria, or part of New York?
That same area.
New
So
York.
there's wineries on both sides, but we have some
Mm.
on the American side as well, but
Mm.
all in that area around Lake Ontario, so kind of to the east of Niagara Falls. And
Yeah.
then that would be like south of Niagara on the Lake,
The
Canada.
only place I really wanted to live in Canada, besides Vancouver, was that microclimate in southern Ontario.
It's really beautiful, and
Gorgeous.
Niagara on the Lake is such a beautiful, quaint little town. It's got like cute little B&Bs, and it's not quite to the level of like Quebec as like a European city within North America, but it has like twinges of that.
Mhm.
Oh, nice.
Well, thank you for bringing such a great beverage. We're going to have a word from a couple of our sponsors, and we'll be right back. POZOTRON is the technology busy voice talent need. It literally cut our editing time in half.
Positron overlays your script to your voiceover to ensure script accuracy. In moments, you'll discover pickups or a perfect read. Upload your script, upload your audio, and Positron does the rest.
For audiobook proofing, this is a must. For e-learning and long-form narration, even one page of script, this process couldn't be easier. Positron ensures your narration is word perfect, so you can focus on your performance and delivery.
Check out positron.com or email hello@positron.com for a free product demo. Voiceactor.com is the fastest way to have your website up and running right now.
Simple and fast.
It's the do-it-yourself website builder for voice talent.
No coding.
And you can edit your own content.
The plug-and-play website templates have everything a voice actor needs to insert demos, videos, testimonials, bios, and much more.
It's a no-brainer.
Websites work on any device.
And you can use your own domain name.
Go to voiceactor.com for more information.
voiceactor.com, powered by voice actor websites.
Okay, Maria. If you don't know already about Maria's prowess with rates and negotiation, you should. But anyway, that's okay because we've got her here on Speechless and so thrilled.
Mm, mm. Can we
Go ahead.
just jump right into it and dig in? Because we want to know how you approach clients with your rates without tipping your hat first, because that's so hard. It's like, what kind of witchcraft do you use?
Yes.
So what I tell everyone, when I've taught this as a class or a webinar, or what I've presented at a conference, my number one piece of advice is to ask the client if they have a budget or a budget range in mind before you throw out any numbers. And that includes, asking your additional questions to determine how the media is actually going to be used to make sure that you're giving them the right kind of number. You're quoting for an explainer video or a phone system or a pre-roll ads. You're asking all of those preliminary questions to understand what it is the client is trying to produce with your voice. And then also ask them, do you have a budget or a budget range in mind that you'd like me to be mindful of when I'm quoting, or, to help me meet your budget expectations? And to me, that question sets you both up for success. It gives them the opportunity to share that so that you can quote something that's within that range. Or they might say, yeah, the budget we were thinking of for VO was $1,200. And you can say, great, that works for me. Or actually, I'd be closer to $1,750 and here's why, or whatever. But it starts the conversation at a level place for both of you. And I think people get really hung up on who has to talk first, and this idea of chicken, like who's going to be the one to crack first. And I think it's important to realize that you and your client are not at odds and fighting each other. You're working together. And a lot of times the people that we are doing business with are the middle men, women, and people in the middle who are then working for an end client or a brand, right? So the people in the middle are trying to come to an agreement to ultimately serve a third party who's not part of this negotiation. So I think keeping that all in mind can be really helpful, and understand that the person that you are talking to and the person that you're trying to do this negotiation with is not inherently trying to short you out of money, is not trying to cheap you out or whatever. Ultimately, it's a conversation of two businesses coming together with a desire to do business together for ultimately a purpose, whether it's for that person directly or for a third party that they are also working with, whatever it is. But the goal is for you to work together. They don't send emails out to voice actors asking for quotes, hoping that they don't respond. They want you to respond. They want to do business with you. And negotiation doesn't have to be a scary thing. It can be two people coming together, discussing terms, and ultimately you both want to leave that conversation ready to move forward. They don't want to have to go to another person if they've picked you. And they especially don't want to go to another person if their end client has already gotten completely attached to your audition or your sample or your demo or whatever. They want to make it work with you.
I never thought of
So
it that
I think
way.
going into that and thinking we're two businesses who desire to work together, that's the mindset. This is not an argument. It's not a fight to the death. It's two businesses who truly want to do business together. And that mindset has really, really, really helped me. The second thing is knowing that I can walk away and knowing that my business does not hang on the thread of each individual negotiation. My career will not end if I choose to not take this job, or ultimately we're not successful in arriving at an end to this negotiation. And also my career will not be made by this one negotiation. My career will survive either way, whether I get this job or I don't get this job. And that is a high class place to be able to feel that way. And I recognize that not everybody perhaps feels that way in their career. But if you are at a point in your career where you're still growing and still trying to get every job that you're going out for in pursuit of building your business, in pursuit of building financial stability, you can't bring all of that anxiety and drama with you into that single negotiation. You can't put the weight of the world, your mortgage payment, your babysitter's payment, whatever it is, you can't put the weight of all of that onto each individual email conversation you have, because you're going to go crazy. So it's really about knowing that you enter the conversation with this other business as an equivalent business having this conversation, and knowing that you have the power to walk away, that if you need to, your career will survive you exiting the conversation, and your career will also survive if you get the job. Either way, your entire business is not built on whether or not you take that next job that you've been having a conversation about.
I love that you added that part too, because I think so many times what I considered fair to them outpriced myself, and they have walked away. And so that felt really bad. Um, but you've reframed it in my mind to be like, my career doesn't hinge on that one experience. I can walk away from that and it's okay. But
Yeah,
it
and I
does
think
feel bad. But I think it's also fair to say, yeah, and it does happen.
nobody likes to lose an opportunity, right? When
Right.
when somebody actually walks into your inbox or responds to an audition you've done on online casting, it's competitive out there. So if you've made it to the point where they're asking you these questions, you don't want to let the fish off the hook, right? Because you already did
Right.
so much work to get them there, whether that was SEO work to build your website so people are coming into your contact form, or you've improved your auditioning skills so you're standing out on online casting, or you've paid for a higher tier of online casting so you're getting heard first. Like, you've already done a lot of work or investment to get to the point where the client is asking you for a quote or wants to take the negotiation. So having to exit a negotiation like that feels like wasted effort, but it's not. And I think that's important to realize. The other thing that I think people get really, really hung up on is, we have these wonderful rate guides that are published out there on different websites that are free resources to us, and they have these published rate ranges. And I think people get really hung up on trying to adhere to industry standards, which is absolutely something that I want to applaud, but recognizing that not every client comes into these conversations with either knowledge of those things or the ability to meet those budgets. And I think people get stuck saying, well, if it's not in this range, then they're lowballing me and I just got to get out of here. You have to remember that all of these rate guides online were built from people taking surveys and their averages. So when the GVAA says the average for, let's say, a local radio commercial is, I don't know, 250 to 500, let's say that that's the range for one of the columns. In order to get that range, somebody told them that they were charging $1,000 and
Right.
someone told them that they were charging $150, right? That's how we
Mm.
got this range of averages. So I always encourage people when I'm teaching my classes to think of a pick up the mic fee for yourself. And that could be a different fee in different categories. But like, what would it take for you to get out of bed and do this job? A, and B, does it affect your ability to book more work, right? So if we're talking about a phone system for a dentist in Miami, and they reach out to you and say, hey, we have a budget of $150 and we want to make like 4 updates to our phone system. Like, okay, that's probably fine. It's going to take me about 15 minutes to record and edit it to the phone system specifications. $150 is not bad for 15 minutes. If somebody came to me and said, hey, we'd like to use your voice in a YouTube pre-roll ad that's going to run for 6 months and our budget is $150, that job might take me the same amount of time. It might take me that same 15 minutes to record a 15-second pre-roll spot, but I'm not going to do that work for $150. That's a totally different category. So I'm going to have a different pick up the mic fee for a piece of advertising. But, if somebody came to me and was like, what's your quote for a phone system? I usually say my minimum booking is $350. So in that case, this client would have been like, I'm sorry, that's too much for us. But instead, they told me their budget and I said, I'm willing to do it for that. It's less than I quote when somebody walks in my door, but I still feel like I'm being fairly compensated for that. And it's still within kind of the realm of appropriate, the realm of the averages for that kind of job. So you have to evaluate the opportunities individually. That's why you can't have just like a blanket, like yes, no response. Like if you don't, it's almost like when you go to the carnival and like you hit the thing and it goes up, do
Yeah.
you hit the bell? And it's like, well, if you don't reach the bell, then it's nothing. But like maybe somebody makes it 80% of the way there with the budget. And you're like, well, it's not going to conflict my business. It's not going to keep me from booking other work. And it seems like there might be, a good opportunity to work with this client in an ongoing way. It's not work that I find annoying or tedious. So if your budget is 80% of what I would have quoted, maybe that's okay. And I think that's another important consideration, is recognizing that you have the power to make those decisions. You don't have to adhere to these like hard and fast ranges. And if it's $1 less than the range, then absolutely not. It's not black and white like that.
I think we could end this show here, because if you didn't learn something in
good.
that, I
I
mean,
need a sip.
what? I am beaming with pride. Maria is one of my very favorite people. Is so smart, aside from being enormously talented. So we're going to take one more break from our sponsors, come back and listen to more of Maria's wisdom.
Hi there, I'm Danny States. I'm the founder of VoiceOverview, and I just want to invite you to give us a try. We offer a 30-day free trial. We are the business tracking and management system designed by voice actors for voice actors. It's a great platform for you to manage and control your voiceover business.
Voice talent need quiet.
For us, quiet comes in the form of a STUDIOBRICKS booth.
Now, we've recorded in closets, and nothing against closets, but with families and the need to raise our game, we both independently bought a STUDIOBRICKS.
I love my booth because when clients see it on Zoom, they know I'm the real deal. But also, I feel more professional in it.
And I like STUDIOBRICKS because it's whisper quiet in my noisy neighborhood, and also is gorgeous.
Right? I have a STUDIOBRICKS 1.
And I have the voiceover edition.
I want that.
Head over to STUDIOBRICKS.com.
World-class sound isolation booths, high-quality materials, less environmental burden. Okay, we're back with the brilliant Maria Pendolino. I have some things I want to point out about your question, like from the beginning, or just to highlight. I am going to rewatch this show, and I hope everyone else does, because even in the beginning of what you said, the idea of having the right language shows your professionalism, and it doesn't mean you have to reveal your own budget. So those words you use, because I work very quickly, and it's quickly like, do you have a budget? Or something, as opposed to those gorgeous words you did to sort of support the conversation along, make them feel comfortable, and show how professional you are by using intelligent language. And even those two sentences, I think you said, were like, yes. And that's always struck me about you, Maria. You have the words. You just always have the words. And then you said high class, nothing to lose. You're showing right from the beginning that you're high class, that it's not like 2-word answer, 2-word question. You've elevated your business and yourself to this level of professionalism. You can deal with me or not. And then, of course, what you said, I'm making notes like a lawyer. You can let it go. You're not going to hinge. Your life isn't hinging on this one. Thanks.
Right.
Sorry,
And she's
Kim, go ahead.
empowered the voice talent to now
Mhm.
approach that conversation in a position of power
Mhm.
and confidence, as opposed to a position of, you're the client, or whatever you want. Okay, I'll do it.
Yeah,
Or, okay, no. Like
we
you,
as actors are so conditioned to say yes, right? Especially those of us who may have come from theatrical, doing on stage work or anything like that. You're conditioned to say yes, because every little job or workshop or reading of new material is going to lead to the next job, because the director's going to remember you, or the producer's going to like you, or whatever. And that is like job to job to job. And not that that's not true in voiceover. You can certainly make great impressions with ad agency teams and creative directors and producers and production companies and whatever. You can still become that person that's thought of, an on-demand person who's kind of always on the short list. But you don't have to say yes. You are building a career as an entrepreneur. You are a voice actor who provides voiceover services, and that could include not only your recording, but editing and whatever other auxiliary services that it is that you offer to your clients. But you don't have to say yes to every opportunity in order to build your career. Your career can still build by choosing not to take an opportunity. And you may choose not to take an opportunity, not because of the money, but maybe because of scheduling. This particular opportunity doesn't fit into your schedule well. Or if you get into real high class problems, you literally don't have time to take every opportunity because you've been booked in directed sessions for commercials and they require you to hold a much larger part of your schedule. I've had to pass off some of the let's call it the lower hanging fruit, doing things like phone prompts for companies on demand, or lower paying industrial narration or stuff, I've had to let some of that go because I haven't had the capacity in the last couple of years while I've been very successful, which I'm very grateful for, in commercials. The commercial recording requirements, that schedule is much more demanding than the industrial type of stuff where you have a little bit more freedom to choose when it is you're doing it. So I've had to let some of that go. So there's a lot of reasons that you might have to say no to a job, and negotiation or the client meeting your rates is only one of those things. So I think understanding that your career is not built or ruined on one opportunity is a really important way to continue thinking about how you grow your business.
I think, like, unlike theater, though, I feel like it's a much bigger pool of money and pool of hirers. So just because something doesn't go right or you don't take that job, again, it doesn't make or break your career. It's not a small pool of hirers like maybe the New York theater,
No,
you know,
it's
or
not like
even
all
at
the explainer
LA.
video companies are getting together and being like, "Oh, Maria Pendolino wanted
Don't talk to
$450 for
each
an explainer video. Don't
other.
hire her." You know,
Exactly.
no. The
Exactly.
New York theater scene is a a goldfish bowl. When it comes to people's reputations of being difficult or something potentially getting around. Yes, the voiceover casting sphere is
And
much wider, and we have so many different diverse genres that people work in. It's not like a documentary producer is going to know what kind of e-learning work you do. They don't care. It might as well be two different jobs. You might as well be working at Trader Joe's. They honestly could not care.
Yep. And I think even the LA scene, I think people get confused about, well, if I do this, my agent, blah, blah, blah. It's such a big industry. And even though LA essentially is small within, and it used to be small in terms of how many people got hired, it's your business. It's a career. Yes. It's also a business, and people don't talk to each other the way you maybe think they're talking to each other. They have no idea uh, about, you might have had an issue with a job. No one else is talking. Move on to the next opportunity, right? Yeah. So here's a thing that you and I have talked about ever so slightly, and that is about usage for non-broadcast things. So e-learning or other, let's say, non-union jobs where you're getting paid, say, 350, 400, 450 for an explainer video or e-learning. You'll explain it much better. And maybe talking about usage and renewals in that area, in that genre of voiceover.
Oh, that's interesting.
It will be difficult to track, and you don't have an agent necessarily watching over it. What are your thoughts about thinking about usage for non-broadcast stuff?
Yeah, so I think it's really important to understand how many things may fall under the term non-broadcast, and not everyone uses it the same way. Okay. So under the umbrella of non-broadcast, you could still find advertising work. So it is possible for ad agencies and production companies to refer to things like streaming TV. So this is like Hulu, Pluto, Sling TV, pre-roll ads on YouTube or other like news sites, uh, streaming audio like Pandora and Spotify. That can all fall under what is technically non-broadcast. The way that we throw around non-broadcast among us in the voiceover world, most of us are then referring to things like e-learning, corporate narration, telephony. That's what we really mean when we're talking about non-broadcast. But out in the marketplace, buyers may lump these non-television, non-cable broadcast television, your 2, 4, and 7, ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox, those affiliates, and cable TV. A lot of times when they say non-broadcast, that may include the other forms of television, internet advertising, whatever. So I think it's always important to understand with your client, are you talking about an ad where somebody is putting money behind it to put it in front of eyeballs? Or is it something that just sits somewhere? It sits organically on a YouTube channel. It sits organically on a client's website. It is posted organically to their Facebook account and their followers see it. That is a much different conversation than if it's actually being trafficked as an ad and being shown to millions and millions of people. So if it is a non-broadcast piece of advertising, so that could be a pre-roll ad, something running on Pandora or Spotify, Hulu, Pluto TV, streaming services, that kind of thing, I'm going to price it exactly like a commercial. And I want to limit buyouts to a certain period of time with the opportunity to renew. If it's something that's going to sit organically and people are just going to have it on their website or they're going to post it organically, they're not spending any money to traffic it as an ad. In those cases, and I say this all the time, your mileage may vary, but for the most part, that will not cause conflict. So the union wouldn't view those pieces of content as a conflict. And if you were being asked, like, do you have conflicts in X category? If you had done a website video in that category, I think you could answer that question in good faith. No, I don't have a conflict. I don't have my voice being used in paid advertising in your category. There have been a few non-union breakdowns in the last couple of years where it was for a commercial and the breakdown asked talent to disclose any work that they had done in that category. So that could include phone prompts, website videos, e-learning, guided meditations, whatever it is, if you did it in that specific product category. But I can literally think of only 2 breakdowns that had that in the last several years. So again, out there listening, your mileage may vary, but for the most part, things that are in the non-broadcast, non-advertising section of just, website videos, things that are organically posted to social and then essentially become archival as that post gets old, or e-learning, internal courses, one-time events, like if you're in a video that's being played at a one-time event, all of that should not cause you conflicts if they live out there for a longer duration or period of time. From the union's perspective in the US, those types of things would fall under either a category 1 or category 2 industrial contract. Category 1 are things that are internal. So if you did like a bank's compliance course that's only being done for that bank, that usage would be in perpetuity, even on a union contract. The understanding is category 1, internal, not available to the general public. The client can use it for however long it's useful to them. Category 2, which would be unrestricted viewing to the general public. So that could be something that's in a museum, something that's at a kiosk in a train station. That could be an explainer video that's available for general consumption on the internet. The union gives producers a 3-year usage within their session fee, and then they can renew after that. So if you think about marketing and like where we are today and how quickly brand messages change, and especially as technology gets better and better and how quickly, product features or availability change, the idea of a piece of content living for longer than 3 years or longer than 5 years is just almost unbelievable. Like we know that commercial advertising changes really, really quickly, but even this kind of non-broadcast, non-advertising content is going to get stale really, really fast. So I personally, if I've confirmed with the client that there is not any sort of paid media associated, I just assume that they're going to use it as long as they need to, and then they're going to delete it when it's done. And I personally, again, your mileage may vary, I personally have not had any issues with that strategy. The only time where those types of things could be called into a conflict is if you become the voice of someone. So I think of like Flo, Stephanie Courtney, the actress who plays Flo for Progressive. Like she is on television, radio, internet advertising, her face is on their website. So like I would say she's probably not going to turn around and do like website videos for Geico. Right?
Right.
She's the voice, the spokesperson, the recognizable brand face of a company. So if you booked, a campaign where you are like the voice of Pepsi and you're going to be in Pepsi TV, radio, you're going to be in Pepsi's website videos, you're going to be Pepsi's phone system. If you have like booked like every piece of voice work that Pepsi needs, those are the types of things where I would say, you know what? I'm not going to do any work in beverages because I don't want to put any of this work at risk. Even though technically doing the phone system for Coke wouldn't be a conflict on paper, that's maybe just a choice you don't want to make, right? Yeah. So I think that's some of the gray areas where you need to make decisions for yourself. Do you have a relationship or some sort of account that's large enough for you to make decisions to protect it because you just don't want to ruffle any feathers with the people who are working on all of these different pieces of media. But yeah, I don't go chasing after usage for things that I consider on the educational, informative side of stuff. That's 100% not an ad.
Okay.
Ooh, that's a lot, and that's good.
Wow.
And everyone needs to
amazing.
rewind again And I've already forgot the question I was about to ask you, but I think we need to have you back, like just terminology. But I always say, is there paid placement? So just to like dig into what you're saying, if
Is that
it's
a fair
non-broadcast,
term?
just
Yeah,
say,
paid
is there
paid placement or paid media?
Paid
Right.
media.
And that cuts to the chase. And they're like, oh, there might be. Okay, that costs more. No, there's not. Great. Over with. Oh gosh, that was a lot of info. Thank you so much. I do want to remind people though, too, because they get like bogged down by this. What are the chances that you're going to be the voice of Pepsi as much as you might dream, or the Pepsi, the voice of a large company? Don't get bogged down by the ticky-tacky things, because chances are pretty slim. The people that Maria, you may be talking to, hopefully someone's listening that wins a huge account like that. The amount of talent out there right now is so incredibly huge. There's a very slim chance that anyone will be in that situation. So don't get
Even
too
the
worried.
brands that do have those kinds of advertising budgets, even they are choosing to have different streams of advertising. Like
Yep.
even Progressive has Flow and like all of those types of branding commercials. Then they've got the whole stream of like what happens when you turn into your parents commercials, right?
Dr.
And
Rick.
then they've got,
Dr.
other
Rick.
ones as well that are, funny in a different way. So
Yep.
even these types of brands that have like recognizable spokespeople still are producing advertising without them, right? So you
Yeah.
make a good point. Like the ability to book or land an account that would truly give you a category conflict across all types of media. That's rarefied air. It's hard to get those contracts.
Rarefied air, indeed.
Okay, I have
Well-
one final question for you.
Yeah.
You are so successful as a voice talent. What do you think you've done to help you rise so quickly and so
I don't know about quickly, but rise.
rise so high
I
up
mean,
that has set you apart from your peers?
That's a good question. I would attribute it to two things. One, I am a great actor, and I have been acting since I was 11 years old. So when we talk about the acting part of voice acting, being an actor and being able to look at a script and bring it off the page, whether it is a toothpaste commercial or an animation or a crime documentary, for me to be able to drop that into my body and find the ability to live truthfully in those imaginary circumstances in that moment takes me
Meisner.
takes me 0.25 seconds with my Meisner and my Adler technique. I studied with all people who studied with folks in the group theater, so that's like all of my training. But I do that in 0.25 seconds, right? And that's because I've been acting for so long and my technique is just, now it's part of my ethos. I don't have to think about it. So that's something that I bring to the table that I think makes me very competitive. So when I'm going in to do an audition, I feel really confident and I can do a 30-second or a 15-second audition, and I can do 2 takes, walk out of the booth, and I barely have to listen to them. And I know that what I'm submitting is strong just because of the confidence that I have in my acting ability. So then at the end of the day, it's just up to the universe. Does my voice sound the way you want it to on the commercial? Like
Right.
I
Or
know
do you
that
sound
I'm
like Aunt Edna that they can't stand, right?
right,
Like you
exactly.
never know.
Or is the director's ex-wife's name Maria and I didn't have a friggin' chance to begin with? Who knows? Like all of those things are out of your control. But I know that I bring great acting technique into the booth with me and I feel very confident about that. So that's one thing. And the second thing is I happened to work at a bank for 10 years. And initially I didn't, see it as a career. I took the opportunity just because I wanted to move to New York City and I needed a full-time job. And it just so happened that it worked out. And then I ended up working there much longer than I thought I was going to. And I worked in project management and I managed vendors and I opened 90 branches across the country in the early 2000s and had to, have lots of really long conference calls with people and had to write very delicate, politically correct emails and take meeting notes and all of these things that come with being a person who works in corporate America. And initially, when I made the decision to leave that career and pursue acting full time, my first feelings about it were like, ugh, what a waste. I spent all of these years doing this job and this slog and whatever. And then I came to realize it was the best entrepreneurial training I could have asked for. I knew everything about banking, about compliance. I knew things about vendor management and communicating with clients. I know how to write sassy emails that don't sound super sassy. I know how to handle people on live conference calls when lots of people have lots of opinions. So all of that, what I thought was wasted time working in finance and working for a bank, which was diametrically opposed to what I wanted to do as an actor, what I initially thought of as a waste was actually an extremely solid foundation for having negotiation conversations with clients over email, being able to put together complicated proposals for larger projects, being able to read contracts and understand them when they're full of corporate lawyer boilerplate speak, being able to advocate for myself when people aren't paying me on time, all of those different things that come up as a business owner that are completely left of center when it comes to your acting training. All of that was in me from that 10 years that I spent working at a bank. So I would say those two things are maybe the things that are just innately part of me and my life and my personality that have allowed me to build a very successful voiceover enterprise.
Yes. We're taking our breath away. But really, you see that. You see people who are good at both acting and business succeed. And Maria is the epitome of that. Not to say that you've been in it forever, Maria, but you've been an actor for a long time and a voice actor for quite a long time, and only full-time for the past 3 years or 2 years or something. And it blows everyone out of the water with her success.
Yeah,
So
I've been a voice actor now for 13 years and then full-time-ish since like 2015.
Right. So yes, Kim and I are going to watch this over. If anyone has the opportunity to listen to Maria's classes anytime, the rare times that you teach a webinar, a class, a course, it's a must do. And I tell, there's just no, yes, you should take it. I don't care how much it costs. Go to Maria's thing. So thank you so much for being on this show. We're so grateful, and we hope we can knock on your door again when we have the need for someone like uber smart out of the stratosphere, probably every week. Probably a good idea. But anyway, Maria, on our show, we say, fuck it. Let's be awesome now. We've got shit to do. Cheers.
Love it.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks. Fun.
This episode of Speechless is brought to you by
Speechless.